Six Flags America is an amusement park located in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. This park is often named the worst park in the United States. So, what makes a park so bad? Well, it honestly depends on how each person rates a park. I personally rate parks on a few things, and these include the ride collection, the way the park looks, the food, and of course the employees and how the park was operated. There are a lot of common opinions about Six Flags America, and I'll be going over each of these and giving my own opinion in this video, so let's dive right in. The first topic I'm going to talk about is the ride collection. Six Flags America currently has 9 coasters, 7 of those are thrill coasters, 1 is a family coaster, and 1 is a kiddie coaster. Unfortunately, this park is filled with clones, but most of them are actually good clones. In my opinion, the best coaster there is Wild One. As of 2020, Wild One is 103 years old, which is insane. The ride was made by Philadelphia Toboggan Coasters in 1917, and it packs one hell of a punch for its age. The ride was originally designed for Paragon Park in Hull, Massachusetts, and like I said, opened in 1917. After years of many modifications, Paragon Park was closed and the ride was sent to Wild World, which was the original name of Six Flags America. This ride is seriously smooth for its age and has some amazing airtime and lateral forces. At the time of this video, Wild One currently sits at my number 14 in my overall top coasters. Wild One is worth the trip to Six Flags America on its own. Next up is a series of clones, Superman Ride of Steel, Joker's Jinx, and Batwing. All these rides are really good and land in my top 35 coasters. Superman has some great airtime moments and is overall a really fun ride. Joker's Jinx packs the forces and whippy transitions, and Batwing is just a blast. It's currently my favorite flying coaster. Raging Cajun is their only family coaster, but honestly it's really good. It's a standard Reverchon Perla spinning wild mouse, but it's smooth, has some airtime, and it spins like crazy. In my opinion, Roar is the next best coaster in the park. It's an older GCI wooden coaster. It's a solid ride, has some good airtime and laterals, but it runs kinda rough. But it's still a fun ride. It's just one of those coasters where if they retracted, I would be happy, but if they called Mr. Shulky in to do his magic on this park, I wouldn't mind one bit. Their bottom two are Mind Eraser and Firebird. Mind Eraser really isn't that bad, but it's still an SLC. Wasn't much headbanging, however, the ride still runs rough and could seriously benefit from those new vest restraints. The worst coaster in the park, however, is Firebird. This ride is a B&M flawless conversion of Apocalypse, which was the world's first B&M. If you saw my B&M's ranked video, you know I despise this ride. It's rough and doesn't do much at all. Oh, and then there's the Perla kiddie coaster. It's an older one, so it's naturally rough and bad, but it's for the kids, so it's not a big deal. Overall, the selection of coasters here is really solid, and maybe just clones, but you really can't find them anywhere around the park. Joker's Jinx does have a clone right up the road at King's Dominion with Flight of Fear, but Joker is a lot better. Superman's clone is a mirrored version at Darien Lake, which is 3 states away. Batwing's clone sits at Carowinds, which is almost 7 hours away. Roar had a clone, but now it's an RMC. The SLC and Wild Mouse are found everywhere, but they're towards the bottom of the list anyways. The park also has an array of nice flat rides. Some notable ones are a Starflyer, Superloop, Intamin Giant Drop, some flying scooters, and in 2020 they're adding a Zamperla Giant Discovery, which they are fantastic rides. There are 2 kiddie sections and various amount of family rides, a handful of water rides, and even 2 trains that actually go around the park. I didn't ride any of these with the exception of the drop tower, but they all looked pretty good. The park also has a great water park included with admission, and that attracts most of the guests here, so that adds a bonus. I guess if I were to give the collection a rating, it would be 8 out of 10. It's not perfect, however, it has great variety, and is perfect for a day trip for enthusiasts, or a day out with the family and friends, if you're a local. I really don't understand the whole hate for the rides. Six Flags America often gets the opinion of it looks like a Six Flags park, which I personally don't have an issue with. The pathways were clean, buildings looked nice, and there was even some foliage planted around the park. My only complaint would be that the park does seem bare at times, and there's a lot of open space, specifically when talking about trees. Maybe this is because my home park is Great Adventure, and it's practically in the middle of the woods, but that's really the only thing I noticed. Chris even thought the park looked better than Great Adventure in terms of upkeep. I don't know if I agree with him, but the park does look pretty nice. Overall, looks good, a 7 out of 10. Next category is food. I don't have much to talk about here though. When we went, we got some chopsticks for lunch and pizza for dinner. During the day, Chris was with us, and since he's of age, he got an alcoholic drink at one of the bars in the Mardi Gras section. He seemed to enjoy it. Food wasn't the best, but it wasn't bad either. Kept us full and didn't get anyone sick. Their food options were pretty basic for a Six Flags park from what I saw. Chicken, burgers, pizza, salads, and then chopsticks. They also had a decent amount of drink refill stations throughout the park, and all the restaurants and stands were open. Whether everything was in stock at every stand was a different issue though, which I only really ran into this at one stand. I've never heard anything about the food here, so I really had nothing to go off of, but seeing the negative opinions about this park, I was expecting the worst. Overall rating, 6 out of 10. Chris is a professional chef, and this is what he thought.
I mean, I wouldn't even put it on the Michelin system because technically Baltimore and the area of Maryland is not in the Michelin guide. And it's way too far out of the New York City jurisdiction. But if I was a Yelp reviewer, I'd say 3 out of 5 stars. It took a little while to get the food. It wasn't as 100% hot.
Well, part of that's my fault.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. It wasn't too hot, but you know, you can't blame them for doing it out of chafing dishes. Yeah, 3 out of 5 stars.
Next up is why I can see people actually dislike this park. The employees and operations of this park. I'll start with the goods though. A lot of the employees here are super nice. I had short, pleasant conversations with a few of the ride ops and food employees. It was pretty hot the day we went, so I was always stopping for water, and even a few of the employees at the food stands made sure we were staying hydrated. When we got lunch at Shop 6, there was an issue with my dining plan, so it took a little while to get my food, as Chris mentioned, and this caused the rest of the line to wait a little bit longer. However, they made sure that it was fixed, and they were nice throughout the entire process. Like I said, I talked to some of the employees in the rides department, specifically at Firebird, Roar, and Raging Cajun. They were all happy and super nice. We had quite a few run-ins with the Raging Cajun employees, since it was down for 90% of the day, which is what this park seems to be known for, ride closures. The only closures for us were Batwing in the first part of the morning, Joker's Jinx for about 15 minutes midday, and Raging Cajun for almost the entire day. We only got a ride on it right before we left, and we had to wait for it to open back up while eating dinner. In fact, this is the only reason we ate dinner at the park. I wouldn't blame this on the park since the rides were having problems. Batwing and Joker are known for being a pain in the maintenance department, and Raging Cajun just seemed to be stubborn all day. However, every single coaster was running one train. Mind Eraser was even a train with less cars than normal. This wasn't a big deal since the dry park wasn't busy at all. The water park, however, was pretty busy. The issue here is the dispatch times, and the way some of the rides employees acted. As you got towards the back of the park, the rides employees seemed to get worse and worse. On Voodoo Drop, there was only one op, and they were just talking to some guest the entire time and barely paying attention. On Joker's Jinx, there was a team member on break, and when she came back, the crew was mad at her since she was 20 minutes late. When she was confronted by them, she just got up and left in a screaming match. The Batwing employees yelled at us for something we did to the restraints. I'm pretty sure we pulled down the lap bar too soon or something, and in result, they stapled us after yelling at us. They also took around 10 minutes to dispatch one train, which is horrible. Superman had to be the absolute worst though. On our first ride, no problems. Later in the day, we went back and faced an actual line. No big deal though, until we realized it wasn't moving. Each dispatch took about 5 to 10 minutes, and the ride's pretty long too, so that adds an extra 3 minutes on. It became even worse since we were waiting for the front, which naturally had a longer line. This became even worse when a group came up the exit with an AAP. If you aren't familiar with this system, AAP stands for Attractions Access Pass. 2 versions of this pass exist in the Six Flags chain, a wait time pass and an NA pass. NA means that they don't have to wait to get on. Obviously don't know which pass they had, but the ops seemed to put them right on the train. The wait wasn't too long at this point, it was about 10 minutes, so usually when the wait is that short, the ops just throw them on anyway. However, the thing that got me mad was that they put the group in the front row. No, I wasn't mad because they were boarding our row and we had to wait longer, but because the ops aren't actually supposed to do that. If the guests with the AAP decide that they want to sit in the front row or back row, or somewhere around there, the guests actually have to wait a longer time that is assigned by the ride operators. It even says right on the pass, choice seating requires a longer wait time. This isn't even in fine print either. It's in a large, bold print, so both the guests and the ride operators or attendant are aware of this policy. The op completely ignored this policy and threw them right on the train and inconvenienced everyone in line. What's even worse is that they let them re-ride, which is something you aren't supposed to do at all. With the one train, this really got me pissed off since our line was not even moving. What should have been a 5 to 10 minute wait turned into 25. The sad part is I couldn't even report this to a supervisor or a lead because the supervisor was the one doing this. By the time we were up next, I realized something even worse. The ride ops weren't even doing visual scans or all clears. This is very dangerous for a multitude of reasons. To make it even worse, the cycle I realized this, the op at the panel pulled out her phone and had a phone call while dispatching the ride. After the train left, she just left the station along with the attendant on that side of the station. At this point, I had no words. As ride ops, Nevin, Matt, and I were freaking out. What if the train needed to be stopped in the lift? The op now had no way of pressing the ride stop or e-stop. To make things even worse, when we rode, they reopened the restraints for something and didn't even recheck the restraints afterwards. All of these are reasons to get fired at Great Adventure. I ended up making a complaint through a survey, and hopefully those employees are properly retrained instead of fired. I don't want them to get fired. At this moment, I realized why everyone hates this park so much. The poor operations. Everything was fine up until then. Unfortunately, operations and employees can really ruin a park experience for me, and a lot of other people too. This is why I had such a negative reaction to Ride Playland. Rides were nothing great, but however, the park had a classic charm and looked great. The employees were just extremely rude and didn't care. That's another video though. I regret calling Ride Playland a shithole, because it's really not, but the employees need to get it together. This is why I also dislike Hershey Park so much, or at least not like it as much as a normal person. The employees can be a real issue. That, however, is also another video. So overall, rating employees will be 5 out of 10. Slow, but nice for the most part, except for the one mentioned, obviously. Operations, however, will be getting a 2 out of 10. The only reason it's not a 1, because Raging Cajun's crew was quick and kept the trains rolling. So if we're going to average out the scores here, the score is going to be a 5.6. But my overall personal rating for the park as a whole is going to be 6.5 out of 10. If the operations could be stepped up and employees can get on their A game, this could easily be a great park. The park has been making some improvements for the 2020 season, from what I can hear, such as repainting Joker, and of course, their new ride will be great. If they can get a new standout coaster like RMC Roar or a Raptor, I know I'd be making the 4-hour drive here every year, just like I did with Six Flags New England. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment down below what your opinion of the park is, and of course subscribe for more content coming very soon. And don't forget to wash your hands and stay safe, and I'll see you all next time.